Hello and welcome to IGPP Expert Talks. I'm Heena Goswami, Editorial Consultant with IGPP, Institute for Governance, Policies and Politics, New Delhi. The use of tobacco in our nation has become rampant. On 31st May every year, we celebrate the World No Tobacco Day to raise awareness against tobacco consumption and its harmful impacts. The theme for this year's WHO-led campaign is Grow Food, Not Tobacco. To discuss more about tobacco consumption and its harmful impacts, we have with us Professor Kumar. Professor Kumar is the founder head of the Department of Rheumatology at AIIMS, New Delhi. A national award winner for Science and Technology Communication in 2020, she was also a WHO fellow and has been raising awareness against this menace. Welcome to IGPP Expert Talks, ma'am.
Thank you.
So you have been raising awareness on tobacco consumption and its harmful impacts. So what are some harmful impacts of tobacco usage on people who are consuming it, and even for those who are not consuming it, how secondhand smoke can harm them?
Heena, I'll take it as not some effects on health, but there are many adverse effects on the health. And that just starts during smoking the cigarette and afterwards. And it can influence everyone. It adversely affects children, even newborn, fetus, mother, parents, elderly, everyone, and those who are smoking and those who are getting the smoke otherwise, which is also called second-hand smoke. So if we understand, the smoke has more than 4,000 toxic chemicals, and out of which around 70 is supposed to be carcinogenic, and the chemicals, they cause various kinds of damage. So you'll be surprised to know when one smokes, the problem starts. The heart rate goes up, right? And if one continues to smoke, damage accumulates. So that's not only in the heart, it happens to the brain, to lungs, to any organ. So broadly, if we talk about, it can cause cardiovascular adverse effects, where one can have heart attack, can have clot in the vessel, otherwise which can cause stroke, which one develops paralysis. There could be cancers of various organs of the body. People commonly know about lung cancer. There could be cancer of the ovary. There could be cancer of the pharynx, the food pipe. So there are many cancers which are associated with this smoke. Then there are autoimmune diseases. These days we hear that lots of people are developing arthritis and related disorders. So like rheumatoid arthritis or lupus, and there are many more. So non-communicable diseases are increasing, and even hypertension, diabetes, pancreatitis. So everything is being linked with tobacco. So it's actually very harmful, and it reduces the lifespan of the individual. Even individuals who are not smoking, their family members are smoking or friends are smoking, they are equally at risk, which may be little lower, but they are at risk. And sometimes, what happens, one thinks that we have gone out of home or room and then smoking. So what happens, the smoke or the toxic content of the smoke, they remain in the air for some time. And it's not only for seconds or minutes, that can last for hours. So if anyone passes by, is going to inhale that smoke, or at home if somebody is smoking, there could be remnants of cigarettes or part of the smoke sticking to the carpet or the floor or anything around, sofas, which can actually gradually go inside the individual who are not smoking. So that can also damage individuals.
There's also been an increasing consumption of tobacco amongst female users and youngsters. How do we fight this perception that smoking is a status of symbol, freedom, being cool in the society?
Absolutely, that's actually something which is very concerning. And though it's equally bad for young boys because their brain is also developing during that stage, even for girls. But in girls, brain matures till 18. If we say for boys, it might extend beyond 20. So what happens when they smoke? The nicotine, when it goes inside, within seconds one feels elated, right? And say positive, and that kind of daring attitude comes in. Yes, I can do it, but that's very short lasting. And girls possibly, I think, they to get that recognition from the peer group, right, or to look, fit into the society which is so called, people call eliteness, or modernization, or very forward looking a lady. So they're trying to fit in that concept, and that is why I think they are getting into this habit of smoking. Second is, people often think that those who smoke are leaner. They to reduce weight also. Some women, when I spoke to a few patients who had come to me and I found they are smoking, they were very bright young girls, doing very good in their life. So they gave me this region also, because I was told that I can reduce weight by smoking, so I got into that habit of smoking. um, and that these youngsters, they have got a very a kind of nature. They want to dare everything, right? If you tell them not to do it, they say, why can't I do it? Like, they'll do it more. So these are a few things which I feel that there had been a behavioral change in our society's young individuals, and so are young girls and women.
So, to talk more of such perception, a Delhi-based advocacy released a report titled "The Effectiveness of Tobacco Disclaimers on OTT Content Services," and the report shed lights on why people consume, why people smokes, and what are the factors influencing this behavior. And it questions the necessity of health warnings on OTT platforms. There comes a disclaimer not to smoke. So, what is your take on this? Should there be disclaimers on OTT platforms, or are they unnecessary?
Look, in the previous question, uh, when you asked why women are starting, so all of us know now that smoking is not injurious to health. That's not good. Despite that, we need to hammer this in the brains of our countrymen that no, it shouldn't be taken in. It's dangerous. And these kinds of activities are going on for so long, right? But despite that, people are smoking. So I think there is a need to hammer this thing in the individual's mind that cigarette smoking is injurious to health, or consumption of tobacco in any form is injurious to health. Because what happens, that people who are saying that's not affecting, there are various factors involved into it, right? Because we know that companies, they promote their products by various means, going to social media, and they try to influence the younger minds more than the grown-ups, because that way they get more wider market. Because old people who they'll just kind of, there'll be some end to it, and who is going to fill that gap? The younger generation. So they have to keep that alive. So sometimes it happens, you don't know what it is all about, but when you read it and then you feel, no, I shouldn't. Okay, this is bad. Even the young children, they are going to read it, and at least they'll understand, and whenever they think of getting into this habit, maybe subconsciously it is there in their mind, no, I read it somewhere, it's not good. It's not healthy to consume tobacco in any form. Because parents not commonly are telling their children not to smoke, as far as I know.
True.
It's not consciously told to the children that don't smoke.
One assumes that their children are very latent and hence will be able to avoid smoking. But I think there should be a conscious effort to tell this to children that there are obvious ill health effects to smoking.
Exactly. And the other thing is, these days people are hanging more to OTT rather than going to the theaters and watching movies. So I think that therefore I feel it's important, and it's been a good step of the government to put it on the OTT platform as well, the warning against tobacco consumption.
Another key that studies have shown is that if there's lesser visibility of tobacco products, then their consumption can be reduced. Okay, but with the rise of e-commerce websites and the lax regulations that they carry with, there has been an increase where you can get tobacco, you can get cigarettes and related paraphernalia delivered to you in minutes. So how do you view this irresponsible behavior on part of large techs?
Uh, well, whoever, be it large tech or other individual, they are if selling anything which is toxic to the humans is not right, right? For their own benefit, they're killing other people, okay? And that is actually impacting not that particular individual, the entire family. If we look at our value system, our socio-cultural values and traditions, right? So we are not into it. So we have to not only think about ourselves and making money out of various processes, but also think for our people, our country. Because when we say that Gen Next is responsible for taking India forward, we're talking about being Vishwaguru, right? But this is not the way to reach to that stage. You are killing your young, brilliant minds at the very young stage. Killing does not mean ending life. Killing could be, making them dependent on be it drugs or be it smoking, right? Because that is addictive. And even if they like to stop someday, it's not so easy also. And I was reading a study which says that those who start smoking in the younger age, it's very difficult for them to give it off. And 99% of the people who start smoking, they do it by the age of 26 years, who start smoking. So you can imagine how important it is to tell people by various means, not only OTT platforms or as you mentioned about stopping delivering such products to the people.
What is also the economic burden of tobacco usage for the nation's economy? The WHO's campaign for this year is Grow Food, Not Tobacco. Can you shed some light on it?
Well, very commonly these tobacco companies, they say that if there are stringent regulations, then that would adversely affect the economy of the country. So if we look at the direct and indirect cost incurred because of these products, it comes to 1% of the GDP, Indian GDP. And direct cost is on medical expenditure because of various tests, medicines and consultations which are given. Indirect when one loses job because of some illness, okay? And what these companies give revenue to the government is just 12% of this 1%, right? So you can imagine. So it's not value added, okay? So it's it's not right to say that if government brings very stringent laws, then it's going to harm the economy of the country, okay? So that's what I have to say. So people must understand that bringing stringent laws, like government is thinking about bringing this revised CODPA Act, that is going to help people, and that's not going to affect economy in any way.
In fact, growing tobacco can also harm the fertility of the soil.
If we talk about the theme which is there, right? Grow food, not tobacco. It's very, very relevant because there are lots of harmful effects of tobacco growing. If you look at, like, it can harm farmers, it can harm the consumer when the cigarette or the BD is made and that is supplied. So farmers who are dealing with it, even it can bring about deforestation, not good for climate change. farmers, when we deal with those leaves, tobacco leaves, they can develop toxicity, nicotine toxicity, which manifests with giddiness, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, loss of appetite, and their immunity gets altered, they develop various kinds of infection. So this is also called green leaf syndrome in those farmers. And even when they are curating these leaves, then also they can develop toxicity related to these products. Then pesticides which are used, a huge amount of pesticide consumption is also there in growing these crops. That can bring about pesticide toxicity. On the land where it is grown, that also gets infertile, and I was reading somewhere that requires huge amount of water. So that is actually bringing about water depletion. Land gets infertile, and single crops take 9 months and to mature, right? So farmer cannot grow the nutrient food. So where in globally, when there is deficiency of food supply, then and food security where we are talking about, then I think it is all the more important to have farmers switch to other growing other crops which are actually nutritive, and the food supply chain can be maintained. And there are lots of people who are starving that can also be taken care of. And the subsidies with these farmers getting, that I think should also be stopped, so that they think of growing other crops, right? And they should be given all kind of facilities, so they don't get lured by these tobacco growers, the big giants which try to control their life. And then their women, when the farmer comes home, is carrying toxic nicotine products with him, and then the children who are in the family, they get affected. The women get affected, the pregnant lady, as I told you, even the fetus gets affected. So it doesn't stop there. So it's affecting all spheres of human life and the environment. So it's all the more reason to stop growing tobacco and switching to nutritive crop growing, cultivation. Yeah.
Do you think India's laws are enough to discourage tobacco consumption, or do you think we as a society should adopt some socio-cultural practices so that we ensure that tobacco consumption is reduced and not increased?
The best way is to telling people about its adverse effects, because if you ask a person what tobacco does, they just say it can cause cancer, but not everybody is developing the cancer. Right? That's the straight questions come from young adults, right? But it's important to tell them that who is going to develop, we don't know. Half of the cancers are attributed to tobacco these days, not only in India, globally, right? And young people into their 20s and 30s. So it's not the only factor. If we think about preventable factors, stopping tobacco consumption is one of it. The factors which you can control, at least you can work on that. You may not be able to control the air pollution. Single person cannot control the air pollution. And tobacco is also, smoking is also contributing to air pollution, right? So that way it's very, very important that each individual has to think that this is toxic for him and for his family and for the country. As we discussed about, growing crops is not good to the land, to climate, to the people who are involved into this business, and then subsequently who are consuming. So surely we can spread awareness about this, as you are doing. And second is putting pressure, building up public momentum on the government so that they bring out stringent laws, although there are laws, but still people get away by find some way to protect themselves. And then third thing is punishing those people who are not actually obeying or kind of following those rules and regulations. Implementation is very, very important. Implementation of law, if it's not there, then it's useless. Third thing, I think what individuals can do is supporting the farmers, bringing confidence in them. They are with them. They don't have to be lured by these big giants who are involved in this business of tobacco.
You have worked extensively with young adults to discourage tobacco consumption. What is the one message that you would like to leave the youngsters with?
I would like to tell youngsters that believe in yourself. You are individuals. You don't have to come under peer pressure. Don't need approval from your colleagues that you are okay and you fit in the society. If you're not smoking, you're not misfit. Just wait and watch that in times to come, people who were making fun of you will follow you. So just stick to your value system, your tradition, your socio-cultural system, and don't smoke. And don't get into any addiction for that matter. Life is yours. We are looking at you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you
you.
so much for
Thank you.
joining us.